Hello and welcome to the COVID-19 update on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. First, the highlights. President Muhammadu Buhari expresses his well wishes to Christians in Nigeria, uses the opportunity to remind citizens to get vaccinated. It's Christmas rush in Ekiti State as travelers defy COVID-19 safety protocols. And airlines cancel hundreds of Christmas Eve flights as Omicron variant takes a toll on flight workers. Thank you for joining us this Christmas Eve. More than 2,000 Christmas Eve flights have been cancelled globally due to the fast-spreading variant Omicron. The latest blow to the spirit of the holiday season has evoked mixed reactions to the changes. According to the World Health Organization, as of the 21st of December, all 6 continents have reported cases of COVID-19 caused by the Omicron variant, while a breakdown in Africa shows that South Africa has recorded over 1,000 Omicron cases, Botswana 291, Nigeria 45, Ghana 40, Malawi 3, Reunion 2, and Senegal 1. Here's more on the pandemic update.
1,940 additional persons in Nigeria have tested positive to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. According to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the latest figures were reported from 18 states and the FCT. That's a drop from the figures reported earlier. Lagos accounted for the highest number of cases with 845 positive samples, FCT 734, Oyo 120, Rivers 69, Delta 30, while Kaduna registered 29 cases each. Edo logged 21 cases, Plateau 20, Gombe 14, Anambra and Enugu registered 11 cases each, while Osun had 10. Ekiti, Kano, Bayelsa, Ogun, Katsina, Bauchi, and Jigawa State logged a single-digit infection. The total confirmed cases in Nigeria now stands at 233,353. 187 patients have been discharged in the last 24 hours, increasing the total number of recoveries to 212,040. There were no additional deaths recorded in the last 24 hours, leaving the fatality toll at 2,991. More than 9 million eligible Nigerians targeted for COVID-19 vaccination have received their first dose, while over 4.2 million persons have been fully vaccinated. The total global confirmed cases have surpassed 278 million, while deaths are beyond 5.3 million.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed his well wishes to Christians in Nigeria and all over the world on the occasion of the Christmas celebrations. In a message, he used the opportunity to ask Nigerians to look for a silver lining in the second consecutive Christmas in the middle of a pandemic, calling for people to get vaccinated. In his words, "I want to use this opportunity to appeal to our dear citizens to embrace vaccination, which is the best scientifically known bulwark against the pandemic. I will also urge those that have taken the 2 doses to go ahead and take the booster, as advised by the Presidential Steering Committee." He also commended security forces and spoke of the need to intensify efforts against insecurity, not only in Nigeria, but also in the West African sub-region. He says, "Let us utilize the opportunity that this festive period brings to encourage ourselves so that the machinations of the wicked ones in our midst will find no place to thrive. Christmas is a season when hope is rekindled. Hope, peace, joy, love are the recurring themes of this time. It is in the midst of hardship that the true test of a nation emerges." The president also urges Nigerians to spare moments to reach out to the less privileged while felicitating with family and friends. And over to Ekiti State, where it's a Christmas rush as travelers struggle to board buses, some Lagos and Oyo states bound, while COVID-19 protocols were set aside amid desperate moves to get a seat in the public transportation, again raising the call to sustain public enlightenment on the COVID-19 guidelines despite the ongoing vaccination.
Also here to ensure that we sensitize everyone on the proper use, non-pharmaceutical measures. That is proper washing of hands, and as well as proper use of face masks. Even here in the hall, we are having people that are not even wearing their face mask properly. Some are not even wearing it very well. Some are putting it on the chin, things like that. Please ensure proper way of face mask. It is not to protect the other person alone, but you're also protecting yourself. You don't know the person next to you, where he has gone to. You don't know the exposure the person next to you get himself into. Please ensure that you wear face mask. Let us encourage social distancing as well.
In the meantime, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has taken his booster shot of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. The governor took his shot at the government house, Lafia, where he urged the people to take their vaccines as the virus is still very much around.
Nasarawa State has continued to lead the nation when it comes to the percentage of those who have been vaccinated. I want to sincerely thank our good people of Nasarawa State for offering themselves, to be vaccinated. Indeed, the first and the second doses are perfectly in order for everyone to ensure that we take, because this virus is real.
The NCDC is launching its Yuletide season campaign themed Celebrate Responsibly as part of the Take Responsibility campaign, which began February 2020. In an interview with Channels Television, the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, is calling on more measures Nigerians need to protect themselves and their loved ones from COVID-19 during the holidays.
The Yuletide campaign, which is Celebrate Responsibly, is all about helping Nigerians to stay safe and stay healthy during this Yuletide period. As you all know, we've seen a massive increase in COVID cases diagnosed across the country in the last 2 weeks. All states are reporting that. And we know that the Yuletide is associated with travel, with movement, with people gathering together, obviously, to celebrate Christmas, celebrate the end of the year. And the virus moves with people. Okay, so people meeting together in large numbers, traveling without masking or ensuring physical distancing, or again, without getting their vaccines, makes for all of the ingredients that you need to make for a really large surge of COVID cases now. Although we are not yet seeing a massive increase in hospitalized patients, but we are beginning to see that creep up, and it is therefore important that we protect ourselves by celebrating responsibly and staying healthy and COVID-free in this Yuletide period. It's difficult to predict where the peak will end. As you know, the last wave we had was Delta. And Delta was new variant, highly transmissible, caused a lot of severe disease. But interestingly, for Nigeria, the peak wasn't as high as when we first encountered the virus brand new. Okay, but Omicron is a different variant. Already we know it's more transmissible than Delta. Whether it will cause more severe infections or cause more deaths, we still don't know. But we are watching the trajectory, and it is pretty steep. Almost the same as the last wave. So where it will end depends on you and I and what we do to celebrate responsibly in this Yuletide season.
The NCDC DG also spoke about the tools to help prevent a spread of the Omicron variant and for more people to go out and get vaccinated.
Well, the rate of testing is not where we want it to be. Okay, so we have rolled out rapid diagnostic tests in the last 4 to 6 weeks about. We've seen weeks where testing really went up due to uptake of rapid diagnostic tests. So about maybe week 46, 47. Then we saw a decline again. And we see in the past week that test numbers, obviously because we identify more cases, have started to go up. So we need people to test. Okay, we may not be able to test and do tens or 20s of thousands COVID tests per day, like in some places. But what we have now is the current testing capacity is not even being maximized. So people should test. I think part of the problem is people think that they need to be really sick before you test, but actually not. If you have even your usual respiratory symptoms now, you really should go and get a COVID test. Early in the pandemic, people talked a lot about herd immunity. People still talk about herd immunity, but the virus is changing. We now have a very infectious version, which we are not sure will cause as much disease and death as the previous one. If you've got a really transmissible version like that is more transmissible than the ancestors. So actually, it means you need to vaccinate a lot more people than that. So if the assumption was that we previously needed to achieve 70% coverage to achieve herd immunity, with the Omicron, we clearly need to vaccinate everybody, to get some traction. So what I think is us getting to herd immunity is dependent on vaccines being available and people taking the vaccines. Okay. Currently, we have a situation where vaccines available are not being sufficiently taken up. So we can't achieve herd immunity or as much protection as we would like to if people don't get vaccinated. And it doesn't matter whether you've got all the vaccines in store or in the pipeline. If people do not get vaccinated, we do not get protected. So that's the issue. So if we have people turning out in their hundreds of thousands on a daily basis to take up vaccines that are currently available and provide impetus for government and other partners to see, oh, it looks like vaccines are going, we need to make more available, then we will get to the targets. So it's all entirely about people's willingness to receive vaccines, and of course, that will be complemented by government making an effort to provide vaccines.
And to Ogun State, where the wife of the governor, Bamidele Abiodun, has challenged school pupils in the state to take charge and be responsible for their health, especially in the face of the rampaging COVID-19 pandemic. She played host to some selected pupils from different schools in Abeokuta, the state capital, at a Christmas party held at the Valley View Auditorium of the Government House. She asked them to shun all forms of violent acts, charging them to be good ambassadors of their families, Ogun State, and Nigeria at large.
The past 2 years have been a real roller coaster ride for all of us. And just when it seemed like we are getting back to normal, we are seeing a few more twists ahead with this COVID-19. But I urge you, don't get discouraged, but assess all you need and make plans to adapt again where necessary. Remember, you must always put on your mask, wash your hands, social distance. You must always make sure that you cover your mouth and your nose when you're in the company of a lot of people. You must always wash your hands. When you wash your hands, it kills the coronavirus immediately. Soap and water will kill it. So make sure you practice the art of washing your hands. Relearn, reevaluate, and meet the new year with new confidence. I look forward to more celebrations and successes in the days ahead. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
We have more on the COVID-19 update from around the world. Please stay with us. And there continues to be calls from authorities and other stakeholders on vaccination against COVID-19. In Jigawa State, there is hope that the general public understands the significance of vaccines. A forum known as the Twins Forum is further driving the campaign, urging members in the state to get vaccinated to beat the deadly coronavirus disease.
Jigawa State tested over 22,925 suspected individuals, in which 619 turned out to be positive. Currently, we have 2 active cases in Jigawa State, a discharge of 60 cases, and the total mortality of 17 individuals, including a medical
According to a senior health official of the Federal Association of Doctors in the Public Health Service, German states have almost given up the contact tracing of COVID cases, with some areas struggling with staff shortages amid the winter wave of the pandemic. According to the health expert, unlike with the Delta variant, health authorities must order a quarantine for Omicron-infected people and their contact persons, regardless of the vaccination status. Well, joining us to talk some more about this is Deutsche Welle correspondent Christy Platzen. She joins us from Berlin. Hi, Christy. I mean, Germans are beginning yet another Christmas celebration amidst the coronavirus pandemic. Talk to us about how things have changed for the country since Christmas in 2020.
Right. Well, as you're saying, in many ways, this Christmas is similar to Christmas last year in that Germany and much of the rest of the world is still in the grips of this pandemic. But there are some key differences on the ground here in Germany this year. For one thing, we have a new federal government in place here now since a few weeks. This is a center-left government that's replaced the center-right government. And they have been much stronger in their push for vaccinations since taking power, both in the rhetoric they use and also in the policies that they've proposed introducing to encourage the population to get vaccinated here. Another major difference we have this year is we're dealing with two new variants of the coronavirus that we didn't have last year. They have different properties. This is creating some uncertainty about how exactly to go about curbing their spread. But at the same time, a third major difference this year is that we do have vaccines available now. That was not something that we had available in December last year. People can get vaccinated. Many have been vaccinated for months already. So what this means is that Germany does not have to reach for blanket lockdowns as quickly as it did in the past when we saw major spikes in infections.
Many are still unvaccinated. But in terms of surprises, what did this year hold for Germany?
I think that the economic fallout from the pandemic caught Germany by surprise to some degree. I mean, we had predictions that we would see an economic recovery this year, and that did come to fruition to some degree this summer. After we came out of lockdowns in the spring, we saw a lot of people going back out to restaurants, going shopping, going to the movie theaters, and this did cause a major sort of bonus for the economy. But at the same time, this is also when we saw supply chain issues really starting to bite, not only for consumer and retail goods, but also for industrial players, car makers, makers of electronics, also pharmaceutical companies have found and have continued to find it very difficult to get their hands on some supplies due to these supply chain issues. Also, the reopening of the economy had caused a major surge in the demand for energy. This pushed up energy prices, and this is something that has continued to be an issue, particularly now in the winter months. So between these high energy prices and these shortages we've seen, now we've of course been dealing with this issue of inflation for several months now, and there's not a lot of clarity among monetary policymakers about how exactly to go about handling that.
Finally, Christy, now the year draws to a close. Is this what Germans expected the end of 2021 to look like?
Right. Well, there really was this sense December last year that people here needed to just white knuckle it through a pandemic Christmas. Vaccines were in development. There was this sense that if we could just make it to spring, people could get vaccinated and life could return to normal to some degree in 2021. Now we find ourselves here a year later. In some ways, things are still very similar to last year. Now with these new variants at play, a lot of uncertainty about how that could continue to develop. Also unclear how long inflation could become an issue. It seems that there is a weariness setting in, that the pandemic was less of a one-off event and is more of an era that we could be living with for some time to come still.
Thank you, Christy, and happy holidays. Christy Platzen, Deutsche Welle correspondent, joining us from Berlin. New data from Britain suggests that booster protection against symptomatic COVID caused by the Omicron variant wanes within 10 weeks. There have not yet been enough severe cases of Omicron to calculate how well boosters protect against severe disease. But experts believe the shots will continue to provide significant protection against hospitalization and death. Well, here's more on the global update.
In the United States, United Airlines and Delta Airlines have cancelled dozens of Christmas Eve flights as the spreading COVID-19 Omicron variant takes a toll on its flight crews and other workers. Daily Omicron cases have risen beyond the peak of the recent Delta wave, and hospitals are filling up across the country. In Australia too, thousands of festive journeys have also been affected, with more than 100 domestic flights from Sydney and Melbourne to other cities cancelled. In Europe, Catalonia, which surrounds the city of Barcelona, has banned residents from leaving their homes between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. as it tries to tackle the Omicron variant that is driving up infections and overshadowing Christmas. Catalonia is the Spanish region with the most cases of coronavirus and is the only region so far to have imposed a night curfew. As Portugal battles a surge in COVID-19 cases, many Lisbonites woke up before dawn today to join long queues to get tested before Christmas Day celebrations. Long queues have also been seen outside pharmacies, and some people had no option but to leave the city to take a test as there were few slots available. Portugal, with a population of 10 million, reported 10,500 new infections on Thursday, the highest since January, when it faced its worst wave of the illness. The country has one of the world's highest rates of COVID-19 vaccination, with around 87% of people fully inoculated. In his Christmas message, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has urged the British public to get vaccinated. Prime Minister Johnson, who had previously ruled out new COVID-19 restrictions before Christmas, says he believed this year's holiday would be significantly better than last year's.
After 2 years of this pandemic, I can't say that we're through it. How can I? When Omicron is surging, where we all know we must together try to stop the spread of this new variant. We must test ourselves and take extra care when meeting elderly or vulnerable relatives. We know that things remain difficult. But for millions of families up and down the country, I hope and believe that this Christmas is and will be significantly better than the last in this vital respect. That we can celebrate together with those we love and raise our glasses to those who can't be with us. And if this year you need a bigger turkey and there are more sprouts to peel and more washing up to do, then that is all to the good, because these rituals matter so deeply. And I hope that people will enjoy this Christmas this year all the more keenly because of what we had to miss last year.
And finally, in Bethlehem, the traditional birthplace of Jesus, residents are faced with a less festive and near-deserted Christmas. Bethlehem was hoping to turn it into a Christmas shopping attraction with a post-pandemic wave of foreign tourists, but the Omicron variant dashed those hopes in November by closing down international travel.
And over to East Africa, where Kenya's sudden decision to demand proof of vaccination to access public places and transport have been met with mixed reactions. The health ministry is going ahead with the mandate despite a court order that postponed it pending a hearing next month. The policy requires anyone seeking government services or entering public spaces to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, while the government succeeded in inoculating 8.2 million people at the end of last month. This figure only amounts to 10% of the population. The announcements to demand proof of vaccination to access public places and transport caught many by surprise, but comes amid a surge in COVID-19 cases in Kenya. Test positivity rates on Wednesday were nearly 30% compared to 0.7% on November 21 when the edict was announced. On Thursday, around 20 people stood outside a tented vaccination site downtown next to a busy bus stop.
It is not the first time that we have been here, but remembering that we had a sanction by Ministry of Health and the national government that after the 21st, you will not be able to access essential and government and public services. That is why we have brought the vaccines so that the community can access them with ease.
Nairobi resident Cliff Matanda doesn't agree with the government's decision.
I don't support it because I think It is supposed to be one's own initiative, one's own decision to go get vaccinated, because that seems like people are being forced to be vaccinated because you can't live without accessing government facilities, government services, public facilities. You can't live without that. So it's like people are being forced in an indirect manner.
Bus crews in the capital do not yet ask for vaccine certificates, but insist passengers wear masks and sanitize hands. Driver Sylvester Gichira welcomes the government's push for more people to get vaccinated.
It's good for people to take care of themselves. Safety starts with an individual. It's not a must for the government to put a directive.
The Health Ministry has said that proof of COVID-19 vaccination would be required by December 21 to access services such as schools, transport, immigration and other state offices and hotels, bars, restaurants, national parks and wildlife reserves. But a court in mid-December temporarily halted the rule amid uncertainty over who would police the edict or what to do about citizens unable to access vaccines. Around 9.2 million Kenyans have taken one dose of the vaccine, of whom 3.7 million are fully vaccinated. Or you can visit our website, channelstv.com, for more updates and a better understanding of the pandemic, plus other stories, is all at your fingertips. And that's the program this evening. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Stay healthy and Merry Christmas.